Hi, very warm welcome to Dusty Shelf Collectibles. Today we're going to take a look at some Deltics. Yeah, so going to talk Deltics today. So you may have seen the Hornby 2023 catalogue released online just after Christmas. Their range for 2023. In the catalogue, their sort of star release for the year is indeed the prototype of the Deltic. Now, they did a Deltic, these two, back in the 60s in the 00 range. We'll come on to those in a minute. But this one is going to be released in their retro range that they've been doing the last couple of years. So it's still badged as Hornby Dublo. New diecast body, new tooling, looks amazing, looks fantastic. Things like the light on the front, it's going to have 3 lights on the front, and they are going to put the centre light in, which although in the full-size variant the housing was put in there was never a light put in there, but apparently Hornby are going to do that. But as always with Hornby, nothing simple. So when it was first announced, they said 500 units. In the catalogue you can see 500 units. So when the range was released, it was there listed £320, 500 units. They sold out in a couple of days. You know, just that it was so popular, it was gone in a couple of days, completely sold out. 2-3 weeks on, it then appears again on the website, £350, this time with sound. Now, when it was first announced, it was kind of ambiguous whether it came with sound or not, and now suddenly it's released again with sound, but there's no clarification whether that's an additional 500 units or whether it's 250 of each. I may have missed it, it may be out there, but as a collector, you know, I'd like to know. It's not that important to me. If I can get one of these, I'd love one. Fantastic. I mean, they're a lot of money, but I'm quite excited about it. But it's just that, you know, that ambiguity again. I just wish they'd be really clear. It is important to some people. In some respects, it's important to me. You know, if it's limited, I like it to be limited. I like it to be clear that it's limited. So yeah, anyway, that's the moan about the new Deltic coming out, but it does look really amazing. I hope they do it justice in the tooling. I'm sure they will. The other 00s that they've released, although very expensive, are really cracking models. So what I wanted to do is, using that as a sort of opener about Hornby doing the 00, I do have a few in the collection, so I thought we'd sort of have a little review of these. So what I've got here is I've got the Bachmann National Railway Museum of the prototype. We've got this one, which is, I believe, a late 1950s version, is 2-rail, and then this one, which I believe is 1962, which is where they changed the painting of the model. They improved it and named it as well. This again is 2-rail. There is a 3-rail variant of this one that I don't have. But I think this was 1962, so I thought we'd have a little bit of a review of those. But let's start with the prototype. Let's just talk about this. So the Deltics in general, there were 22 built, 6 of them have gone into preservation. This one to me is quite close to my heart because it ended up in the Science Museum, and I remember it as a kid being in the Science Museum. So the reason they're called Deltics is it's all to do with the engines. So with the 4th letter in the Greek alphabet being delta, that's in the shape of a triangle. The symbol's in the shape of a triangle, and these engines were in the shape of the triangle. The engines were from Napier. They were originally marine engines, sorry, not machine, marine engines that were tuned back for use in the railways. The loco was, I think it was something like 3,300 horsepower, 3,400 horsepower, something like that. And this one in particular, this was the prototype, and it's got this wonderful livery on it, and that's what Hornby are doing, which is the sort of chevrons on the front and then the cream stripes down the side. I believe this had a nickname of the ice cream wagon, so I've understood a little bit before my time. But this one ran for 400,000 miles, maybe a little bit more than that, and the engine finally failed. But as I understood, it was never repaired. So in 1963 it was moved into the Science Museum, and I remember it being in there. I remember going there as a child. I remember the Caerphilly Castle being there, the rocket, Puffin Billy I think was in there. And I remember all the model engines all the way round, and each one of them had a little handle that you could rotate and it would run the motion. I was absolutely fascinated by it. But I do remember this striking blue Deltic in the middle. Well, striking blue engine. I didn't really appreciate that it was a Deltic back then. So that would, you know, when in 1963, I probably would have seen this late 70s, early 80s. In 1982, this moved to the National Railway Museum. So it was on display in York for many, many years, and I believe it's now in the northeast in their second site, which is Shildon. So basically, yeah, it's quite close to my heart, and a lovely livery. So what I want to do is I'm going to take these over to the bench so we can get the camera above. We'll talk through each of the engines, a little bit of history behind each of the models, and then we'll run it around the layout and you know, get a feel for these sort of, should we call them older models? You know, obviously I can't do a comparison to the new one because it's not released yet, but it was the Hornby catalogue and release that kind of triggered the thought that maybe I'll do a video about the ones that are in the collection. So let's head over to the bench. Right, I just want to jump back to the catalogue from Hornby. So, as I say, 2023 edition. It's just come out this side of Christmas. So, on page 94, if I go back to the Deltic, I won't go through all this again, but you can clearly see 500 there, so I've had a moan about that. But I just want to go over to the advert over here, which is the cover of one of Hornby's catalogues, which I do actually have a copy of. So the interesting thing about this is, as you can see on the front cover, here's our Deltic with the chevron livery in blue. I don't think Hornby has ever released this in blue. I can't find any record of it. I don't believe they have. So this one will be the first time, I believe, that Hornby have released the Deltic in the prototype chevron blue colour. So let's have a quick look through this old catalogue. So, as I say, this probably dates late 50s. It's second edition, so one of the really early catalogues. I'll just go through it just out of interest. So you can see here a little bit about the motors and couplings, the points, electric points, sorry, various other bits on here, lighting kits, talking about how you build a railway. Some pictures of the rail sets that were available at the time. I will do some other videos on these sets. I do have a couple of them, and we'll have a review of those. Then we get on to some more interesting train packs. So here we get the first sight of one of the diesels in the range. And if I just go over a couple more pages, again, train packs to here. Now this is the page that's of interest. So here's the diesel that we saw a minute ago, the 2230, which is the Bobo diesel electric, and here is 2232, which is the two rail Deltic, which is called the Coco diesel electric. Coco being meaning two engines, etc. So and then just over here, just checking it's coming out in the catalogue, you can see 3232 is the three rail variant. That's the one I don't have. So let's bring in the model itself. So here you can see on the side there 2232, which is this variant here. So let's have a look inside. So opening up the box, inside get the traditional sort of Hornby flat. Now these would traditionally have a little bit of card either end. This one doesn't have it, to stop the model moving left to right. It's almost like a slice of toilet roll, if you like, that just sits over the buffer. So anyway, first thing is this lovely little, I love opening these old boxes and finding sort of the paperwork and bits and pieces that are included in there. I just find it really interesting. So this is got a sort of hanging tag, tested by 40, whatever that is, but you can see instantly it's Meccano Limited, Liverpool. So these models at this stage
Hornby hadn't moved to Margate, they were still based out of Liverpool, in Binns Road. So all their manufacturing, everything was done out of Liverpool. So let's lift the loco out, and you can see the loco in how it looks in person. You can see that it's a very, very heavy loco. It's a die-cast body. We don't have any windows in it. They're just holes in the casting. Do have front and rear glass. Don't know whether this actually ever came with glass inside, and I've just happened to have lost it, but maybe I'll look into that. This one's not in bad condition at all, really. It's for its age. I mean, you're talking it's best part of 70 years old. But I just think there's something about these old models. I just, you know, they're not accurate in detail or scale, but they are. It's just something about them. I really, really love the older stuff. So this one, let's put that to one side for a second. And then also inside the box, we have a Hornby Dublo guarantee. Yeah, you can see that in the bottom. Meccano Limited, Binns Lane, Liverpool. And this guarantee is for 60 days. So I don't think this is valid anymore, seeing as this is well over 60 years. So yeah. And then finally we have the instruction manual operating Hornby Dublo Coco type electric locomotive, and in here it gives some instructions about the layout, oiling points. So, you know, very typical. Looking underneath, you can see the sort of frame. It has a frame and the two sort of bogies sitting on that frame. Very, very rudimental. And I didn't mention the fact that it's got a ring-filled motor inside it. Have a look at the what's inside these locos. Yeah, you can see the chassis here. Sort of sits on a bent piece of metal with the two bogies sitting either side. Yeah, interference suppression. So all locomotives are fitted with a suppressing arrangement which effectively counters interference with radio and television. Yeah. There you go. So that's the first of the two locos. So this is, as I say, this was late 50s. I'm just going to pop this all back in the box. And then it was re-released. I'm going to move this catalogue before I damage it. It was then re-released in 1962, I believe, which is this variant, 2T34. And essentially the locos are very, very similar. Well, they're identical castings. Again, still a metal body, and again this one doesn't have the windows, so I assume that's you know, the side windows weren't fitted with glass. Got front and rear glass on there. The only difference being, or the main difference, is the bodies were painted in a slightly different livery and were named. So I forget what the three rail variant had a different name to this. The 2 rail variant was Crapello, and both were named after racing horses. So you can see here the front end. I mean, you can see how they're hand painted at this stage. If I just bring that close to the camera, you can see how the paint sort of run off around each of the windows. Somebody's sort of caught the features, and again at the other end you can see how the paint sort of run off. So no sort of machine painting at this stage. I assume they were all hand painted. But as I say, this was a sort of step on. Let me get the other one back out of the box. You see, putting them side by side, they are identical in every way apart from the livery. So I'm going to take both of these over to the railway in a minute, and we'll run them around the track. They both still run, which is great. But before I do that, I'm just going to pop these away and we'll take a look at the Bachmann variant. Yeah, so just before I look at the Bachmann variant, I just thought it might be interesting just to finish off looking through this catalogue. So again, these are the individual locos that could be bought at this stage. All of them available in 3 rail and 2 rail. But I was quite intrigued by the prices. You know, a loco for £3, £3 or £4, obviously old money, but yeah, it's yeah, how the world has changed. Then various coaches. I'll do some reviews on coaches another day. Wagons, various wagons here. And this is one of my favourites, these drum cable wagons. So I've got a couple of those, we'll do a review on those. And then this is the track page, and you can see at this stage, I keep repeating myself, but they were running two types of tracks. So we had the 2-rail and 3-rail. This was sort of running them in parallel effectively. And then over onto the final page, which is the accessories. And you see how the sort of style of the buildings, they're very sort of Art Deco 1930s buildings on here, make it look really superb. Very, very basic tunnels. And if you've seen the 3-rail layout that I put together, there's a couple of videos that I've done on that. I'm trying to get this kind of theme on there, or this kind of look, so trying to keep it as traditional as I can. I'm kind of already deviating away from the original plan by putting some Metcalfe cardboard models on there, but I was hoping to try and use some of these traditional buildings on there and make it look as time period as I can for the type of layout. But we'll see how we go. And you see down here that there's the buffer stops. One of the interesting things actually is in here you can see the prices. So Hornby at this stage were putting prices in their catalogue. Yeah, I just find these old catalogues absolutely fascinating. There's the Royal Mail wagon and your breakdown crane. So yeah, right, let's move on to the Bachmann loco. Right, so here we have the Bachmann prototype Deltic. So this one's quite a special model to me. I think I said in the introduction, this was actually my grandfather's, was passed to me by my uncle. So it's quite sentimental in the fact, just the model, but also the fact that I remember seeing this Deltic as a child in the Science Museum, and obviously I've seen it many times up in York and up in Shildon. So it's one of my favourite liveries. I love the chevrons, I love the sort of American styling of it. This is exclusive to the National Railway Museum. It was released around about 2007. So there was two versions. Originally, the first release, limited to 500 models, came with special packaging. That sold out very, very quickly. And then this was the second release, which was 2,500 models, just in the standard Bachmann branch line packaging. So let's open it up. We've got slide that out of the box. So we get a cover slip, which has all your information inside. We'll go through that in a minute. On the back there gives a little bit of history around the Deltic. I think I did a bit of that in the introduction, but this particular one, as it says, sadly after covering 450,000 miles, suffered a fatal blow in March 1961. So it was withdrawn from service and then went into display in various places. So there's a little bit of the history there on the actual train. Inside the box we have an invite to join the Bachmann Collectors Club. I was a member of that at one point. I kind of fell by the wayside though. The magazine's very, very good if you're looking at that. There's some instructions here about the chip. So I do wonder if this may be chipped. I know my grandfather did run digital, so this may have a chip in it, I don't know. And then we've got the guarantee. So unlike the Hornby from 1960s where we had a 60-day guarantee, this one's for 12 months from the date of purchase. So yeah, still well out of date. But yeah. And then finally the replacement parts. You can see here. Let's can't get the paper open. Yeah, so schematic of the train with the replacement parts should you need them, and then over the back here telling you how to fit the decoder in there. I just had a quick spot something as I so it says here in big letters, do not run your model using track laid on carpet. So yeah, there's a note for another YouTuber. Anyway, right, let's get the loco out. So I'm going to lift this out very carefully. You can see on the back here you've got the holes to sort of push the loco through. Right, let's bring that out. So in here we've got these are various spare parts. So that's a spare horn for the top of it. That's actually something that I purchased. That doesn't come with the loco. When this came into my possession, it was missing one of the horns, so I did add that on. And then in there, I can't get it out. I need some tweezers or something. There's various bits and pieces. There's a buffer beams, striker plates. There's a vacuum pipe and sand pipes, just to detail the loco, should you wish to. The really sort of fragile bits. Right. So, I mean, the finish on this is absolutely superb. It's such a lovely model. It's definitely one of my favourite models. You can see through the top here. I don't know whether it's showing up on the camera, but you can see the fans on top with the detailing sort of subsurface. Sprung buffers on here, and as you can see, we've got lights fitted. These are directional lights, so white when going forward and red when going backwards, depending on which end you're leading with. Paint is absolutely superb. It's spot on. Don't know whether this is painted or these are actually decals, but either way they're spot on. It is a plastic body, but it is very, very heavy. It's quite a heavy loco. So I guess the point to be made here is these, you know, they compared with the new Hornby one. I mean, the new Hornby one is going to be something very special. It is a die-cast body. It is, by all accounts, as far as I can tell, the first time Hornby have covered this subject matter with the blue and the chevrons. But it is, you know, it's £300 plus, £320 if you can get one of the originals, £350 if you can get one with sound. If you just want to run a Deltic, you can pick these up. I'm not sure what they're selling for now, maybe 100, 150. But you know, it's half the price of the new Deltic, and this model, I mean, it does look superb. It's going to do justice on any layout. So yeah, anyway, so what I'll do is let's go over to the layout and let's run some of these. Right, let's start with the oldest of the three. So just bring it into shot now. You can see it, low speed, runs absolutely beautifully, and then at a slightly higher speed, both directions. A little bit juddery on the track, but I mean that's given the, you know, the rubber tyres on it are a little bit old. Right, and this slightly later version, I didn't notice this when I did the earlier shot. If you can see on the, I'll just bring it into the front of the camera, you can see here that the traction tyres completely perished on this. I'm expecting this to be a little bit jumpy, but let's drop it on the track anyway. Right. Let's see how it runs. Bad at all. Really nice and slow from standing start. Not bad at all. And we've got a good movement when it's running. Okay, the Bachmann loco, let's just bring it into shot and see how smooth and how quiet it is compared with the older engines.
Absolutely beautiful. Just run it past the speed. Absolutely lovely and really quiet. Notice the I don't know. Right, let's get them running on some proper tracks. So do please keep in mind that this is a modern Hornby track that these are running on, and obviously they'd probably be better suited to the slightly larger railed older tracks. So let's just run this along. So this is the older of the two. It does struggle a little bit on the gradients. Bring it back the other way. Slowing up a little bit. That's it. Bring that back again. And really struggling on the gradients just because of the weight of the loco. And then it gets going again. So this track does it goes off around the back, which isn't very easily accessible. So I don't want to send these old engines off where I can't reach them. So hence why I'm just running it back and forth on the bits that I can reach. Yeah. Down the front here, I've got the Capello loco. Let's just get that running. A little bit more power, I think. And yeah, he's not running too good. Sounds like it could do a little bit. Yeah, so lovely in the other direction, but just a little bit dry running the other way. Yeah, needs a little bit of a service. But as I say, you know, these are 60, 70-year-old locos. They don't get run very often. So, bound to be a little bit... going to need a little bit of a service. There's a very distinct smell in here as well now of these old locos running. You know, sort of a burning dust smell. But there you go. Right, let's move on to the Bachmann loco. Bringing this round to the front of the layout. Does run beautifully. Just bring it round one more time. Running down the back there, you can see the lights on the engine. Yeah, it's all going so well. So running the Bachmann loco round, I suddenly could smell something getting very, very hot inside. So I'm going to stop that there. It smells like probably where it's been standing for a while, needs a good service. Something's caught up inside, and yeah, I don't want to carry on running that in case I do more damage than it's worth. So I'll park this video here. So yeah, as I say, I just wanted to, you know, show these three beautiful locos. Obviously the older ones, they've not got the detail there and they're not to scale, but they do have a certain charisma about them, and the fact they're still running after 60, 70 years is fantastic. Bachmann loco, absolutely beautiful, absolutely perfect, if only would run for a period of time without getting a fault. So anyway, I hope this has been of some interest. As always, thanks ever so much for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one.